going on, everybody? Welcome back to another mailbag, our chillest type of video where we sit back and answer your questions. If you're new to our mailbag series, me and Eric switch off every week doing the mailbags, so the questions that were posted on his mailbag last week will be for me today. You can leave your question down below if it hasn't been answered, and Eric will try and get around to it next week. As I normally like to try and do on these videos, I got a little bit of a channel update. It's not really much. I'm not going to waste too much of your time, but I'm going to try and do an upload streak in December. So this video will be going up on December 2nd. I dropped the Harry Giles video yesterday, and then I'm going to be trying to upload a video every day until around the start of the season. I'm going to try and get an upload streak. I've never done an upload streak, but you guys have been supporting the previous videos like crazy, so I figured what better time than right now to try and do an upload streak. Also, right now, I am wearing a Blazers Uprise shirt. You can get yours at blazersuprise.com/merch. The link will be down in the description below. Now, if you get a sweatshirt or a t-shirt, I recommend getting a size 1 bigger than what you normally do. For some reason, the sizes run a little small. It's not too small that it wouldn't work. I just generally get a size bigger than what I normally get, and it works for me. So with that being said, let's answer your questions from the past week. Cameron says, because our roster is so deep as currently constructed, do you see us making a move at the trade deadline? Possibly Derrick Jones Jr. and one of our young talents to grab another strong role player. What are some realistic trades you can see happening? And honestly, it's way too early for me to think about trades. The trade deadline, as crazy as it seems, is probably only going to be in about 3.5 months. So we'll get into the trade stuff for sure. We'll have trade talk videos back at some point when trade season is ramping up. But I can't even think about trades at this point just because this past offseason is still so fresh. We haven't even seen how any of these pieces fit together. We don't know who's available. It's going to be a completely different trade market, so I can't even speculate yet at this point. Christian says, Mark Jackson to Portland. Remember, he helped put that Golden State team together. And honestly, I would rather have Terry Stotts than Mark Jackson. I do not like Mark Jackson as a coach. A lot of Blazer fans say they want him. I don't get it. Steve Kerr took that Golden State Warriors roster and won like 73 games in a season with it. Mark Jackson could only get that roster to a 6 seed. He didn't build Golden State. He got fired. Steve Kerr came in and they made a monumental jump. And for some reason, some people like to give Mark Jackson credit for that. I have never understood that. I don't think he's a good coach. He's fine as an analyst. Honestly, he's not the greatest TV analyst either, but I'd rather have him as a TV analyst than the head coach of our Portland Trail Blazers. Definitive One has 2 questions. For his first question, he says, Blazers just won the 2021 first pick. Yeah, that must have been a disaster of a season if that happened, but I'll play along. He asks, are you taking Cade Cunningham or Jalen Green or someone else? At this point, I'd probably take Jalen Green. I haven't really watched enough of these guys. Jalen Green, I haven't been able to watch really any of him because he's in the G League, and that hasn't started up yet, whereas other guys are starting their college seasons. It's been fun watching college basketball this year. You know, there's no NBA during college basketball, so I suggest, you know, if you guys want some basketball and have never really given college basketball much of a shot, then this is the perfect time to watch it because it's the only basketball that's on. But yeah, Cade Cunningham is the projected #1 pick. I have to watch more of him because I watch him and I don't really see why he's the #1 pick. He doesn't seem too athletic, doesn't seem like much of a shooter. I don't know. He's a big playmaker. I just have to see more of his game in order to get a good feel for it because I didn't see how he was necessarily the top projected pick based on the little bit that I watched him in his first couple games at Oklahoma State. And the second question Definitive One is asking says, have I ever considered a career coaching, scouting, managing, etc. in basketball? He says, with either me and Eric in Olshay's ear, he'd be confident we'd be moving closer to a title or two. And I mean, it'd be cool to be an assistant GM. I mean, I know I can get kind of crazy with the trade ideas, but I understand the CBA. Eric understands the CBA, and we've come up with some pretty creative ideas before. So if Olshay ever needed a guy in the front office to come up with trade ideas, I think me or Eric would do a great job doing that. I have coached a little bit AAU, but yeah, I probably wouldn't want to be a scout. Honestly, I can't stand riding in airplanes. I used to be okay in airplanes, but now I just I get anxiety, that type of stuff. I'm bad riding an airplane, so I couldn't fly around crazy like that for a living. But I mean, coaching would be fun. Training players individually would be fun, but it's not something where like I would I love it so much that I'd do it for free necessarily. As a career, it'd be pretty cool. But yeah, I just haven't really done it much, and I'm kind of cool with the YouTube thing. I'm kind of cool just doing this, talking to this camera right here. It gives me my basketball fix because obviously we can't really play right now. So I'm cool with this. Edgar says, what do you think of a 10-man rotation? Dame, CJ, Derrick Jones Jr., Rocco, and Nurk starting, and Trent at point guard, Hood at shooting guard, Melo at small forward, Giles at power forward, and either Zach or Kanter at the center spot for our backups. Gary Trent Jr. cannot play the backup point guard position. I think that's going to end up being CJ. Melo should not be playing small forward. So this lineup is kind of weird. I did do a live stream where I put together a couple of different rotations. That stream was over on my second streaming channel, Blazers Uprise Live. I feel like there's probably at least one person watching this right now that doesn't know we have a second streaming channel. There should be something popping up here referencing that stream, and if you want to just watch the rest of this video and click on a link for the channel after, there will be a link right at the top of the description down below, so go subscribe to that streaming channel. We stream Mondays and Thursdays at 9 p.m. Pacific time. Those times will change as we get into the season, but we will stream over there during the season, and we'll also do our preseason post-game streams on our second streaming channel. So make sure you go subscribe so you don't miss those. And Barking Box says, with Olshey saying he wants Stotts to change some things, what would you like to see? I know having Dame play off the ball would be great, and increasing ball movement would be an improvement too, but is there any specific plays or teams you'd like to see them mirror with the new roster pickups? And I mean, I'd love us to play like prime Golden State under Steve Kerr. I'd love for our offense to be like that. I understand if it can't be quite like that, you know, we don't necessarily have a Draymond passer, but I think Nurkic's playmaking needs to be featured heavily in this offense. If Giles is getting minutes, we need to utilize his playmaking to the fullest. I just want us to play at a faster tempo, try and get out and run, get easy looks in transition, get easy buckets, and then, you know, if we can't get easy buckets in transition, then we can fall back to our half-court offense. I feel like far too often we're too content to just walk the ball up and not even push in transition, and there's no reason for that. I've never understood that. It's always kind of bugged me about this team. I'd like to see more player movement, more ball movement. That type of stuff is harder to stop during the playoffs. We do well in the regular season just running ISO ball. You know, we can have the third-ranked offense in the league during the regular season just run an ISO ball and a stagnant offense that's last in assists, but when playoffs roll around, our offense struggles because teams are able to game plan for isolations and kind of structure their defense around stopping those isolations, whereas it's harder to game plan and stop a offense that moves the ball well and moves players well. So I want to see more of that, and I want to see versatility with our defensive schemes. We shouldn't run only one defensive scheme all season long. I want to see multiple defensive schemes that are used situationally. We need to situationally turn to different schemes depending on, you know, the score. Maybe we need to ratchet up the pressure to try and speed up the game, to try and get back in a game. Maybe we're playing against a Steph Curry, so we trap him, much like teams trap Dame and force other guys to beat us. We just need to be more versatile in terms of our defensive schemes. This wasn't a question. I just thought this comment was really funny because it basically says we're not hard enough on Stotts, and that's probably the first time I've ever heard that before. So for those of you that have watched us for a while, you'll probably find this comment pretty ironic as well. Humble Servant says, do you think we should have tried to get Isaiah Thomas or Boogie? I feel like they're both coming back strong this season, or do you think there's too much risk? Isaiah Thomas sucks right now. After his hip injury, he hasn't been the same player. He hasn't been as quick, and when you're 5'9", you have to be quick in order to be any sort of effective at the NBA level. He's been awful the past couple seasons. He's a horrible defender. He is worse than CJ McCollum. He makes CJ McCollum look like Kawhi Leonard on the defensive end. We don't need the most undersized point guard in the league as a backup guard for us, and a guy who hasn't been efficient. You know, he's looked at as a scorer, but he hasn't been efficient the past couple years. So he's an inefficient efficient volume scorer who is horrible on defense. I don't see how that really fits in. Boogie would have been interesting, but I'm cool with the Harry Giles pickup instead. Luke Olson says, could Gary Payton get a minor coaching role with the Blazers, then replace Stotts if needed? I am definitely on board doing that. Your thoughts? I can't say I'm on board with a guy that's never coached before. I've never seen him coach, so I don't know. I'm not necessarily on board with that. There are definitely other coaches that I'd rather have as an assistant coach and potentially give a head coaching role to if Stotts kind of struggles this season. Gary Payton isn't really on my coaching prospects radar. This question would be too big if I made it full screen, so I'll put it in the bottom left. But we got Sam asking, if we get a top seed this season, do you think Dame could win MVP? And I do think Dame has a chance of winning MVP this year. I think this might be his best season in terms of having a chance to win MVP. I think this is our best chance at getting a 1 seed that Dame has ever had. And I mean, Dame's at his peak. He averaged 30 points per game and 8 assists per game last season, shot over 40% from 3. His true shooting percentage was like 63%. That's an MVP stat line. Flat out MVP stat line. If we are a top 1 or 2 seed and he puts up the same numbers he did last year, then I don't see how he's not right at the top of the list in terms of MVP candidates, because you got the winning team there and you got the statistical production, and his leadership is invaluable as well. Like, he is so valuable to our team. I think he's more valuable to our team than LeBron or AD is to the Lakers, because with one of them out, they still have a superstar in the game. Meanwhile, with Dame out, we don't even have another guy who's made the All-Star game other than Melo, and he's far removed from All-Star Melo. I know some Melo haters will hate that I said that, and they probably still think he's an all-star. But, you know, Dame is super valuable to our team, and he has a chance to win MVP next year. I hope he gets it done. That would be awesome to see. Speaking about the Blazers and 1 seeds, Uriel says, if the Clippers and Lakers take load management, which they have been, I could easily see us being a 1st seed in the West. What are your thoughts? And let me dive a little bit deeper into like why I think this is our best chance at a 1 seed. It's because, as Uriel is saying, the Clippers and Lakers load manage. And when you look at the Lakers, okay, their season ended in mid-October. The regular season is going to start at the end of December. That's only like a 2-month layoff. It's like 2 months and a week or something like that. That is a very short layoff for a team in general, let alone a guy of LeBron's age who normally has a very specific offseason regimen that he sticks to that, helps him stay at peak performance as he ages and helps him stay healthy, because he's one of the healthiest superstars in NBA history. Like, that dude doesn't really have any injury issues. So I highly expect the Lakers to kind of possibly coast, championship hangover at the start of the season, combined with some load management. They could easily fall behind to the point that they might not be the 1 seed, and it's not because they aren't 1 seed material or anything like that. It's just because, they just won a championship, probably not going to take the start of the regular season too seriously, and then they'll definitely load manage. As far as the Clippers go, I don't know if they're going to continue doing that, but I mean, they're obviously not as good as the Lakers, so if they load manage a little bit, we could be right there with them, having a chance to surpass them and the Lakers. The best case scenario would be for us to get the 1 seed, and then the Lakers and Clippers to get the 2 and the 3 seed, and they can beat each other up in the second round, while we'll take a 4th seed who we should end up beating. Because honestly, I think the Blazers with home court advantage against any team other than the Lakers and Clippers should be favorited, assuming this season goes kind of how I expected. So, yeah, I mean, I think we got a chance. It's not likely, but for the first time, I think ever, I can say that I feel pretty confident in us having a legitimate chance at getting the 1 seed. Legitimate being like maybe 15%. So anyway, that wraps up your questions from the past week. Leave any questions you have right now down in the comment section below, and Eric will get around to them next week. If you hung around to the end of this video, thank you for watching. The links that I plugged earlier in this video are down in the description box below. Just make sure you subscribe to that streaming channel, because our post-game live streams after preseason games will be over there. During the regular season, we'll get those post-game streams back over here to the main channel, but we just wanted to do our post-game streams on the streaming channel to help kind of grow that during the preseason. And we're going to be bringing you guys daily content over here anyway, so we'll have the streams over there until the regular season. We'll have the videos here, and the videos should be pretty steady. I'm gonna try and stick to this upload streak. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I hope you have a good rest of your week, and until next time, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.